Hey everyone, this is Nitro for the third and final video covering my Apex Arena matches. To get into Langrisser rank, I thought I would cover the 3 remaining battles that were of interest. I am going to skip this loss here. I'm going to skip this victory because it was a very odd battle where I won because of Santi Chai's mistake. He basically let my Goddess's left hand on Iris apply a mobility debuff on his tank, and he didn't get rid of it. So it ended up with my single target strikers being able to attack all his other characters, ignoring his tank. So that just won me the match. So he made a big mistake there, so it's not really worth showing. So that means that there's only 3 battles left to show at this point. A loss to Desu Life, which I found was interesting, and then 2 battles with Listell. So this video will be a Listell highlight. Now, before I do those Listell battles though, I thought I really wanted to show this one with Desu Life, because he actually has a 1728 attack Cherie. I think we had an earlier battle that I showed during the Zerda battles where the enemy Cherie had around 1328 or so attack. So this 400 extra attack was dramatic. It made a huge difference and absolutely demolished me. So let's just go in and show this one first. Alright, so my Omega gets banned first by Desu Life. He knows I had a very good Omega, so he just banned it first, right from the start. And I ban his Zerda, as is the norm for me, and I play my own Zerda as a result. He now bans 2 of my tanks, Landius and Juggler, and plays his own Landius. So, I now ban his Listell and Yulia, right, getting rid of some of the more deadly threats, and I play Bernhard, who is basically my 3rd tank. At this point, he bans my Leonhard and Listell, and plays Shafaniel. So, I ban his Juggler and Lana, playing my Elwyn, right? I figured Elwyn can one-shot his Landius potentially, or if not one-shot it, Sword Soul will weaken him so I can one-shot him afterwards. And then he bans now Iris and Tiaris. Okay. So I've lost my 2 better healers, really. And Desu Life plays Bozo. So I banned Liana and Chloe, which, to be fair, that was probably the wrong ban there. That was probably a huge mistake. But continuing on, I play Bozo at this point. You know, dark faction buff. And now he bans my remaining 2 healers, Liana and Chloe. And plays Iris. So I have no healers in play, while he has Iris. Although I got to ban Tiaris, but still. And finally, because I have no healers, I decide to play Yulia. First, Yulia gets faction buffed by Elwyn. Second, Yulia can heal, right? With Gift of Eternal Life and so on. So I figured that would kind of sort of barely make up for my lack of healing. And of course, my opponent now, Desu Life, plays Cherie. Right? The highlight of this video. So, Cherie has 1514 attack, base attack to start. Right? Lightning Speed and Shadow Rain for the skills. And it gets very interesting. So, he starts by moving up. I actually stupidly pushed in aggressively on my side too, initially, instead of using my standard strategy of holding back initially. So, and it really does bite me here. I figured though I had to push in because he had the Iris, and he's just buffing up on his side. At this point, I have Zerda activate her Bloodthirst. So my thought process was, hey, I have Zerda, I can have her start one-shotting targets like crazy as a huge threat. Even if Bloodthirster was down, as long as she has no soldiers, she can still one-shot characters like Bozo and Cherie and whatnot. So that was my thought process in pushing up. Right? Well, now, my opponent teleports Cherie forward, And at this point, I was expecting this. Okay, I was expecting that teleport forward. So now I move Bozol forward to prevent the enemy Cherie from being able to attack my Zerda. My thought was, hey, Bozol has over 10k hit points. Surely he can tank anything. What I didn't consider was A, this Cherie has 1728 attack. B, Iris's teleport increased the damage she deals by 20%. And C, she has Shefaniel's faction buff specifically. And that faction buff has the additional effect of when using a skill, damage is increased by another 12%. In other words, Cherie here with 1720 attack has an additional 32% damage dealt with each strike. So what ends up happening is Cherie's Shadow Raid one-shotted my Bozol. Talk about a shock, right? I've never had this happen before. But of course, I've never faced a 1728 attack Cherie either. But nonetheless, it was very interesting to see, right? Because with Shadow Raid, the Angels are not participating in the fight at all. That meant Cherie's 20 strikes was enough to, let's say, have 7 strikes finish off Bozol's soldiers after Ragnarok, and then 13 strikes was enough to kill off Bozol himself. Which, when you think about it, makes sense considering all the extra damage buffs Cherie had. So with that, he was able to run back his Cherie. You know, it's already 5v4, I'm in serious trouble here. So I just tried to desperately have Zerda one-shot the enemy Cherie, and then retreat back. Well, he chooses to... Of course, naturally, he comes up and melee attacks my Zerda with Landius. Right? Just a wise move to make there. Also of note, he brought Guardian Infantry on his Landius to counter my Bernhardt's Lava Titans. Yeah. So that way his Landius is actually very well configured to one-shot my Bernhardt as well. Just an interesting fact as well. So, very much a meta play, and it countered me. But in any case, continuing on, Bozol comes up, tosses out Black Hole, kills off my Zerda. So that's the end of this fight. Now, this was one thing I truly didn't expect, but 1535 intelligence on Bozol, not too surprised. In addition, he managed to silence my whole party with the Black Hole. So at this point, no choice but to surrender. Battle was over. So that was an interesting loss. I mean, I definitely made a mistake charging forward right from the start. I thought that was the right move and it really wasn't. But what was more interesting was his Cherie, the effect and power of it. Just something I never expected and learned. So with proper enchants, with I guess near perfect enchants, I don't imagine very many people have a 1728 attack Cherie, but if you do, you can use Shadow Ray to one-shot things. And now we'll move on to talk about the 2 Listell battles. So let's start with the bottom one and then move on to the other one, which was more of a pick ban win with Listell, but it was fairly interesting. So here we go. For this battle against Ori-sama, my Zerda gets banned at the start, and I banned the enemy Zerda. So I chose to play Listell first, just a kind of a meta play, and he bans my Leonhard and Omega, playing Landius. I now ban the enemy Listell and Chloe, and I play Juggler. Since he didn't choose to ban my tanks, let me play my Juggler. Next, he bans my Yulia and Elwyn, both of my, buff removing, high damage, single target strike characters who can self-heal. So it was a smart choice, and he plays his own Yulia at this point. Next, I ban his Liana and Tiaris, probably bad hero bans in truth for healers. But keep in mind, this was my first match of the day. And I play Luna now, because with Juggler's faction buff, Luna can one-shot targets very easily. So he now bans my Liana and Bozel, right? Finally banning a healer, so I have to start picking healers at this point. And he plays his Iris. I ban his Tiaras and Juggler at this point, and play Tiaras. He now bans Bernhard and Iris, right? Forcing me to choose between Chloe and Landius at this point. Opponent plays Elwyn. I take some time to think about it, and ultimately, I ban his Bozel and Varna, right? Because, well, Bozel because I didn't want to deal with all those debuffs, Varna because of mass attack. That was my fault anyways. And so finally, I play Landius, and my opponent plays Luna, right? There's no reason to play Leonhard when he doesn't have a faction buff, or any way to get a faction buff. So there you go. And this battle actually is very interesting. So I actually moved forward aggressively initially. And keep in mind, once again, my opponent is the one with Iris. Okay, so I'm kind of in a more passive state. So I charge forward with Landius now and have him activate his faction. Opponent faction bets up with Elwyn. And then Juggler moves up and activates Triton to guard. Now this is where it gets interesting. He teleports Yulia forward. Okay? So Yulia has a faction buff. She has the damage taken reduction and damage dealt increase. And because of Elwyn's faction buff, she also does 15% more damage during battle. So this is like 35% increased damage on this Yulia. So I was already kind of in trouble right here. Especially since I don't have my faction buff out yet on Luna and so on. But what really paid off here was the skill selection I picked. First, I picked Holy Missile on Tiaras because the plan there was to weaken Yulia if I had to with it and remove some buffs. More importantly though, my Listell chose to bring Blood Dance, Reaper's Touch, and Demon God's Bulwark. Okay. So the skill pick was meant to counter these characters, right? These self-healing characters. And of course, Blood Dance, fixed damage, heal reversal, all that good stuff. So, at this point, for now, I chose to cast Attack Blessing on my Luna. Right? The enemy attacks now with Godly Menace Yulia. But because of my skill selection, which he didn't really realize, Listell guarded against that magic attack. Right? Yulia is a magic attacker. Godly Menace does magic damage. So because of that, Listell's Demon God Bulwark allowed her to tank the hit that was supposed to be hitting Landius. And with that, heal reversal dramatically reduced this Yulia. So at this point, I simply have my Luna Wind Spiral and attack. And with that, Yulia's down. 5v4. And he's used up his Iris's teleport and so on. Doesn't have much going for him at this point. So I send Tiaras up, heal up my Listell to start. And because of that, opponent runs away. So, clearly a victory based on the fact that my opponent didn't really recognize how Yulia truly works. And my Listell's positioning took full advantage of that. As for the other battle where I used Listell, well, it was more of a pick-ban victory in truth, but I'll demonstrate the battle. So for this fight, Zerda banned, pretty much my standard ban so far, and my opponent banned Juggler, and plays Leonhard. So I take a look at his party. He only truly has 2 faction buffs for Leonhard. Well, sorry, he has 3. Joshua, Juggler, and Bernhard. Well, because of that, I choose to ban tanks who can faction buff Leonhard, which is Juggler and Bernhard. So if he wants to play a faction buffer, it has to be a ranged attacker like Josh, which is Joshua. And I start with my Landius. Now, my opponent bans 2 healers, Tieris and Liana, forcing me to pick a healer. So, and he plays Joshua, which was a big surprise to me. Not really the pick I would have picked right away. I would have probably picked Landius, but I'm not him. So, I get the opportunity to ban his Landius, and I ban Liana, the act again effect. And I play my Iris at this point. He now bans my Zerda and Omega, and plays Luna. This is getting very interesting. He's going very offensive in terms of his picks. So I continue I now ban 2 of his healers, which is Tieris and Iris, leaving him only Chloe. And I play Listell at this point, since he didn't ban her. Opponent now bans Bozal and Omega. And on an interesting note, plays Claret. Kinda makes sense, I suppose, because Luna can faction buff. I only say kind of because, you know, now if you bring a faction buff on Luna, she's no longer really a one-shot character. So, I ban his Listell now and Chloe. And I play Luna as well. He bans my Yulia and Elwyn. Characters I chose not to bring because of their low 3 mobility. And so I'm left with Bernhard and Chloe. And ultimately, my opponent of course picks Rachel, who can kind of heal if she gets to attack. And I play my Bernhard when I had to choose between Bernhard and Chloe. My thought here, I think, was because Iris needs the faction buff, Bernhard would provide it. Especially when I'm facing Leonhard. That was the big one. Opponent ends Claret first, so she has 10 mobility. And I'm just moving, since his Claret is at the bottom left, I'm moving to the top right. Try to avoid it. Now, that was my basic plan initially. Now, what's interesting is here, my opponent chose to teleport Leonhard a bit forward. And he was lucky enough to activate Breeze on this Leonhard. So I'm looking at it and I decide that I have an opportunity to attack. So first I teleport my Listell forward. And activates Gospel to try to protect Leonhard. But while it does stop my heal reversal skill, that's it. So my opponent is moving forward. And at this point, I can have my Luna Wind Spiral and finish off away. So now, with this, right, I was able to first Blood Dance to damage and have Luna finish off the enemy Leonhard. So after that, Claret moves up and starts attacking my Listell, right? Now that I've exposed 2 characters aggressively, he chooses to attack. And the first attack does not finish off Listell, so he follows up with the second one using the Roar skill. And the second attack kills them both off. So it ended up being a trade. It was 4v3 at this point, but I see what my thought process was, hey, Luna's already heavily damaged. Joshua is already Joshua could attack, but I'm not that scared of him. And then Rachel could attack as well. So I didn't feel like I needed Luna to kill off any other targets at this point. Because A, I'm pretty sure Joshua has last right, so I can't kill her. And B, Rachel, well, I just wasn't sure if I could kill off Rachel with Luna without an attack skill. So I chose to retreat. And my opponent moves up and uses Dark Demise. And it removed the Wind Spiral buff. So be it. I just need to protect Luna, which is what I do. Focus on healing her up. Now at this point it is a 4v3, and I was pretty confident at this stage, so I start moving, grouping up my characters to get into range to attack the enemy. So Luna ends, Langrisser ends. Right? I actually start moving Bernhard forward because this way Langrisser can still guard Bernhard. Right? And this Tal, the only way they can attack it is if Rachel Say moves up 5,000 launches her arcane blast and whatnot. Right? Good luck with that. He's my opponent's still hovering back. I now have my Bernhard charge forward and sword dance. With this, both enemies have cannot be healed effects on them. So, while my opponent moves up, uses Holy Word on my Bernhard, it's not enough damage to kill him. And Langrisser just charges forward to protect. And now Luna, who had refreshed her Wind Spiral, was able to move forward, activate Wind Spiral, and then one-shot Rachel. Turn it into a 4v2, where I have the opportunity to max heal Bernhard as well. There's two heavily damaged characters on Kid 403's side at this point. You know, the battle was long over, but just mopping up. I finished off Luna first, and then now I just need to focus on Joshua, which I do back. And you know what? My opponent runs away at this point. You know, probably should have ran away earlier in my opinion, but he thought he might have had a chance to come back. So there we go. The third and final battle I wanted to cover. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. And on that note, Nitro out.